The Neilsen 3/8 inch drive sockets and ratchet set on a rack, one of those plastic racks, similar to the Bergen one that we looked at before, only in 3/8 this time. So a few surprises there. We'll get to it. It's to do with Neilsen's usual thing sometimes of including more than one of a certain size of socket, but we'll take a look at that. Alright, this is another one that I picked up for the work bag. It's a 3/8 drive, similar to the 1/2 inch Bergen one that we looked at last time round. Obviously a 3/8 inch ratchet and sockets. Now this one, Bergen did have a 3/8 inch drive version as well, of the, to go with the 1/2 inch, like this on the plastic mount. But this Neilsen one was better value, because obviously, as you can see, you've got another row of sockets there, instead of just the one side with a lot of sizes skipped. You've got a lot of other sizes that have been counted on this Neilsen set and have been added on both sides, so you've got a more comprehensive set. They've also included an extension as well, although Neilsen have gone for the smaller, like 75mm extension. I think they call it a 3-inch. They call it a 3-inch on here, extension. So they've gone for an imperial size, but it's like a 75mm extension. The Bergen set goes for a mid-sized extension, a little bit longer, I think, but obviously it doesn't have the same sockets. Again, obviously, as we know, the sockets have come from the same place as Bergen, because we see this. We recognise. I've only got to look at it now to recognise the same workmanship. In fact, they look identical to the black packer sockets that I looked at before. But we'll take a look at those in a minute in detail. Again, you've got the this black kind of rack that's holding everything together, and a handle here. And again, you may or you may not want to cut off the handle part with a hacksaw to save space, depending on where you're going to put it. If you're going to put that in a cantilever box or a plastic toolbox a similar size as a cantilever box, you might want to hacksaw that off. Or even if you want to put it inside a drawer, you might save some space. The Neilsen code for this is CT2843. You can see that you can already recognise our font that we're used to seeing straight away there when we zoomed in, and it seems pretty much the same thing as the Neilsen one for this. Again, you've got two sockets are joined with these clips that hold the extension in place. You see there, they still move along. And when that extension is put into place, they're linked same way as the Bergen one does. Again, that's the back of that. I will note that they've put a nice carry handle on here, instead of just a hanging hook like that you could still hang as well as carry. So if you want to get it out and and walk off, you can hold it nice down your side and walk to wherever you're going. But again, like I said with the Bergen set, I think these sets are the ideal kind of thing now to chuck in a box or a bag, in this case a tool bag. Everything's there, it's all there on the rack, so to speak. Pretty much all the sizes that I need. The only other way around it of doing it was to chuck everything in separately, chuck a separate ratchet in there, maybe a rail of sockets. But this way, it's a little bit safe. It's a safe space saving, should we say? I'll get there in the end. But this is where we're going to get to the interesting part now. It's 17 piece, it says there, and the sockets. Now this is where Neilsen I will say this whole thing was shrink wrapped, and you had to open the shrink wrapping, so there's nobody's got to these at any stage, you know, when it's been on the shelf or when it's been in a warehouse or wherever, or on delivery or whatever. For this next part, what we're going to get to, you can see there it says it's got an 8, a 9, a 10, an 11, a 12, a 13, a 14, a 15, a 16, a 17, an 18, a 19, a 20, and a 21, and a 22mm sockets. They're all metric. However, now this is where Neilsen comes to its funky self again, that we've seen on previous things. Now I don't know whether they've done this on purpose, or whether somebody at the factory that's putting them on the rack is a bit of a "hey you guys" and he's got it wrong. But they're if we look here, you can see we've got a 17mm, and if we look here again, we can see we've got another 17mm, so we've got two 17mm there. And if we look further down here, we can see we've got a 20mm here, and we've got a 20mm to the left of it here as well. So we've got two 20mm as well. That means that we don't have the 21 that it lists on the sticker. The 21 is omitted from the set, it's not there. We've got two 20s, and we don't have the 16. The 16 has been omitted. We've got two 17s, so we don't have the 16mm. Now we've seen Neilsen before do this with their Zion sockets. They put two 10s in there, or three 10s in there in the set, and three 13s. You know, 13 and 10 are well used sizes, so you know, I don't you know, I understand their kind of reasoning that you might need a spare in those sizes, but two 17s, yeah, 20mm, yeah, possibly 20mm, but very rarely. But 17's a bit of an odd size to me. I don't know why you'd need two 17s. Now, has somebody been a bit of a spanner in the factory, and where they're assembling this kit, and have they put, whether that's either in the Far East or when it gets to Neilsen, who knows? I would assume that it's made in the Far East, and Neilsen probably just stick a sticker on the handle part, and probably a few other companies stick a sticker on their part or whatever, or that may even be stuck in the Far East and shipped out to them as well. But you know, as an absolute idiot, put two sockets on. But the trouble is, because you got two there and you got two there, it seems unlikely to me. That seems like that's how they've come out, and Neilsen has just either had a lot of these stickers printed and it was too expensive to change them, or they've just gone with it, or there was a bit of a mix-up in communication somewhere or other between those two things. But anyway, I think, you know, so we don't have a 21, but I've got a 21 on the Bergen half-inch set, and I have got some adapters, so in a work situation that wouldn't bother me. As for the 16, I can't recall if the Bergen has a 16 in there or not, but you know, I can always pick up a separate 16mm socket and just remove one of the 17s and stick it on there if I really want to, if I really find that I need a 16 at some point. So that is one, that's the first issue, and that's pretty much the only issue. The only other real issue that I find with the set is if we take off one of those duplicated 17 sockets, there's a slight mark on the socket, but I think that's done on the actual material underneath, and then they've plated over the top of it. So you've kind of been plated over the top of the mark, kind of thing. That's the only thing there. Since these are for a work bag and a work set, they're going to get knocked about anyway a bit, so I'm not overly fussed for the price. Again, our usual workmanship. We can see our chamfer back, the radius in the corners. Yes, they are detented, what we're used to. We've got that band of knurl again. I recognise font, and they're all the same as this. Seeing the broaching, all exactly the same. See a little bit of mist in there, and sort of, you know, that knurl is exactly the same again. So it's obvious, it's exactly the same thing as we're used to. I knew it was going to be. The extension, again, our usual radius that you can see there, and it doesn't look as good as the Bergen ones, but it's plain, and it's just been chromed, and it's very plain, but obviously it's come from the same place. It's, you know, it's going to be, expect it to be just as tough as the Bergen extensions. Again, I've got some 3/8 inch Bergen extensions chucked in my bag for all the different sizes, but it's good to have it there as another spare instead of not. You might find that you might only, a lot of the time, need to use a small extension like that, and it's there instead of having to go rummaging for the you know, for your separate extensions. Does feel a little bit easier to push in than the Bergen spring-loaded bearing there. That's going in quite easily, but you know, seems alright. It's just a plain chromed extension, no frills. The ratchet, again, it locks in there, and you could probably replace it with any 3/8 inch extension that you already have, or, you know, in the future if you need to. But the extension that it comes with is a classic type round handle, so it should be you know, relatively comfortable if you're going to use it for a long period. The switch, again, is fairly nice. It's not one of them junky thin sheet metal pieces that's just been stamped and riveted on there, you know, to act as a switch. The action is quite tight. It feels quite stiff, but not overly stiff. It's nice and tight. Feels better quality that way. You got two torque screws on the top, but it looks like a pin or a rivet type underneath this time into the switch. You've got your quick release, however it's raised a little bit more than what you're used to. You see the thickness there of the ratchet itself. And I'll try and look inside it like we did with the Bergen one. See if we can have a look in there. I'll note that there isn't no Neilsen stamped on here or etched on here. Not anywhere, so it's relatively plain. Again, there seems to be another little mark there that was done on the actual bare metal of the ratchet itself before it was chromed over the top of. So there's another little knock there, ding. Yeah, not brilliant, but the actual ratchet itself seems okay. So it sounds. We take a look in there. You know, the design is fairly classic. You get two little bands there. That's about it. One at the back. That's about it. But for a good work for a work beater, it is 72 teeth. So it says on the on the sticker. However, it did say there was a 16mm and a 21mm on the sticker as well, so you know, you might want to open it up and have a check. But we will be taking a look and opening it up. As for the other sockets, they're what we've come to expect from Neilsen and Bergen and Toolzone kind of thing, you know. The 8mm. Now I think this, regardless of the two 20mm and the two 17mm sockets, and the discrepancy between the sticker and that, I still think this was, out of the two, this was the better value. You know, you still get a better selection of sizes and sockets with the Neilsen one in 3/8 inch drive than you do with the Bergen. So I'll just go and get a Torx key or something, and we'll open up this ratchet and take a look. Okay, so one thing is I can only get one of the Torx screws out. This one is in there that tight, and it just will not budge. I tried, you know, tried keys, spinners, you know, screwed for different sizes, you know, Torx kits. That's the Decton set I'll take a look at another time. And this one just didn't want to come out. This screw has got no signs of thread lock or anything like that on this one, so it's unlikely this one has got any thread lock on it, unless it has and they just missed on the other one. But when opening the Bergen ratchet, there was no thread lock on that either, so it's unlikely. So I can't really get it open to get the mechanism out to take a look at and have a look inside at the pawls and everything. But it does mean we can still lube it up. Unfortunately though, won't be able to use any of the grease. Have to use some oil through this one hole here. Just have to hold it at the side. Just keep turning the. You can just slightly hear it's starting to change pitch, like it does when it starts to be lubed up. Ratchets do get a little bit quieter, so you can lube it up through the screw hole. You just have to hold it on its side like this. Just turn the ratchet. What I didn't want to do was round out the Torx cap screw, trying to get it out. I didn't want to mess it up straight away, so I'm gonna leave that kind of where it is, I'm afraid. And I just have to lube it up this way, so we won't get to see the mechanism, I'm afraid. But I'd rather have a working ratchet. I will say that it does look, now I've put the Torx screw back in, that on the one side, we've lubed it up, that this side looks like a T10, which actually opened the screw, removed it. This one is a T8, but even though I used a T8 on there, it still didn't want to come out. It was stuck in there. So I don't know if somebody in the factory has used it, whether that's they've done that on purpose as kind of a security feature. We'll put a T10 in this side and a T8 in that side, you know, or whether somebody at the factory has picked up a T8 size screw and have forced that in there, which is causing a lot of the issues that we've having it out or not. I don't know, but either way, it's still you know, it's still a working ratchet. We've managed to get that lubed up. This will be, you know, just a quick purchase to chuck in a work bag in a 3/8 range. I say these and the Bergen stuff is industrial quality. I call it industrial quality, not the absolute best, you know, of quality you can get, but for the kind of work I'll be putting it through, it replaced the old Stanley round head ratchets that I used for years in work previously. And if I ever do need to replace these with something else, then I can always buy a separate ratchet and just stick it in there with this. But I'd say it's pretty much an industrial quality. You know, whether or not that's professional quality or not, you know, you want to, you know, using it every day in a car mechanic or auto technician situation probably might not be as ideal, but you know, in a maintenance situation, the odd nuts and bolts on a machine, you know, removing rollers and things like that, should be perfectly fine, at least for a few years, I would say. If you take care of it, oil it up, there's no reason why it shouldn't, in that kind of a situation, last you for a while, to be honest, unless you feel like you really want to replace it with something. So that's what I'd call these kind of Neilsen and Bergen industrial quality, if you know what I mean. Not the absolute best, but industrial quality tools, which should be alright with most you know, most industry kind of use. So that's all basically what I've got to say about the Neilsen ratchet set and socket set 3/8 drive.